been achieved by you being in India?
First of all, thank you so much for having me, obviously here in Goa, but particularly on your show, India Today. I like the opportunity to speak through you to the Indian people. As far as the success of my visit, well, the aim of my visit was to attend the SCO, of which Pakistan is a member, and to that end my visit has been successful. As far as Pakistan's position on bilateral relations with India or any meaningful engagement or dialogue with our Indian counterparts, our position remains unchanged. And that is that until India reviews the actions it took on August 5th, 2019, Pakistan is not in a position to engage bilaterally with India.
No, that's your unchanged position. Our position is equally firm. Terror and talks don't go together. And until Pakistan is seen to actively do enough to stop cross-border terrorism, to sponsor terror outfits like the Jaish and Lashkar, we can't talk with Pakistan. So it seems, therefore, that the two countries are in, as I said, a deep freeze. How do you respond to India's position? You cannot have terror and talks coexist.
So as far as India's position is concerned, terrorism isn't anything new. It's an old challenge, and despite having to face this challenge, we have had on and off talks. So as far as being a consistent position, I don't quite know how consistent it is. As far as the issue of terrorism, Pakistan wants to deal with terrorism not because India says so or the Indian government said so, but because we want to end this menace. It has caused the largest number of casualties amongst any of the SCO nations present here today. Pakistan has suffered the most casualties. I myself stand here before you today, a victim of terrorism. So Pakistan and myself are wholly committed to combating this menace. As far as accusations are concerned, we are ready and willing to engage and address any concerns that India might have, but India would also have to address our concerns. India would have to explain what Kulbhushan Yadav, not a non-state actor, a state actor, a Navy commander, was doing in Pakistan, carrying out terrorist attacks on Pakistan soil. Does that not come under cross-border terrorism?
Can I just stop you, Mr. Foreign Minister?
If you allow me to complete, yes. And then of course that's one such complaint. Then of course we all know the incident of Samjhauta Express, where we are yet to see justice. The Lahore incident, terror attack that I presented the dossier before the United Nations. All those questions need to be answered.
You know, I can go on and give you a long list of Pakistani involvement in terror attacks that dates back to the Mumbai blasts of 1993, through what happened in our parliament, through Pathankot, through Pulwama, through Uri, even to Poonch 3 weeks ago. The fact is, the evidence that Pakistan provides, whether it's about a Kulbhushan Yadav, whether it's about a Lahore the terror attack, has not been backed by international agencies. In the case of Pakistan, we've seen Mr. Bhutto Zardari. The fact is that this, no, let's be very clear, that this is backed by credible evidence.
Would you allow me to respond, or would you continue?
No, you know, these are credible evidence. I was in Clifton where you live, and Dawood Ibrahim, responsible for the attacks of 93, still continues to live there. Hafiz Saeed, no action, credible action taken for 2611. Masood Azhar for Parliament, for Pulwama. So, you know, we can give you a long list of evidence.
The point is, while you claim to have a long list, you refuse to accept that Pakistan has any legitimate concerns. For example, you were saying that the fact that we've caught Kulbhushan Yadav, we can show him to you. The fact that he was a Navy commander in the Indian Army is not a legitimate accusation. Then who is India to defend in Pakistani courts? Who is this man, Kulbhushan Yadav?
Who is Ajmal Kasam?
No, see, I'm not denying there's a Mumbai trial ongoing within Pakistan. The reason that trial has not progressed is because India is refusing to produce the witnesses necessary for us to take that case forward. If you compare that with the Samjhota Express attack, over there everyone was acquitted.
We've sent you
we've seen
voluminous evidence of 2611, Mr. Foreign
Sir,
Minister.
I'm not doubting that you've sent. I'm not doubting that you've sent evidence.
You want to live in denial. This is the problem.
This is not denial. This is the problem. The problem is I'm being very clear with you. I'm speaking with facts and I'm speaking rationally and unemotionally. But you are getting quite hyper. And I would like to suggest that if
I
we are
lost friends, sir, in 2611. With due regards, perhaps,
Sir,
just as you said today, in fact, in your speech, that your mother died in an assassination
So
by a terrorist.
surely,
We've
if
all
you
suffered.
lost friends at the Mumbai attack, you too would like to see the conclusion of the Mumbai trial.
Yes.
So perhaps you will take it up with the government in India that in order to conclude the Mumbai trial, India should consider sending the witnesses necessary in a court of law. We have a very similar legal system in India and Pakistan.
We provided you voluminous evidence,
Sir,
Mr.
you
Foreign
can provide as many pieces of paper as you will like, but as your legal system works, so does mine. And in your legal system, along with those pieces of paper, you have to provide witnesses in order for a case to go forward. So until we have that sort of cooperation from the Indian side, this case cannot conclude. Now that I have shared with you my position on the Mumbai case that is sub judice and ongoing, could you perhaps enlighten me that on the Samjhota attack that took place in 2007, where Pakistanis lost their lives, why it is that India has been unable to hold anybody accountable for that terrorist incident on Indian soil that resulted in Pakistani lives lost?
Sir, the fact is, India has prosecuted all its terror cases under the rule of law. We even gave Ajmal Kasam, who was caught in a terror attack, the due process of law. But let me come to your response. Today, you at the SCO, you said, let's collectively eradicate the menace of terrorism. Let's not get caught up in weaponizing terrorism for diplomatic point scoring. With due regard, sir, when you say that, isn't it the responsibility of Pakistan, which globally has found itself in the corner for having sponsored terror, to first stop allowing its soil to be used for terror activities against India? Somewhere you've got to start. Otherwise, your words will sound hollow, with all due regard, Mr. Minister.
But, sir, our words or our track record speaks for itself. We are the only country on the planet that has not completed one, but two financial action task force objectives, one on counter terror financing and one on money laundering. As far as the issue of terrorism is concerned, the numbers speak for themselves. You can take out the data between sort of 2006 up until 2014, Pakistan was in a very difficult situation vis-a-vis the activities of terrorists. We were facing terrorist attacks almost every other week, but precisely because the whole of the Pakistani state, across the political spectrum, sat together, came up with the necessary consensus that resulted in operations in South Waziristan, then in North Waziristan, and a national action plan, we managed to break the back of these terrorists. And unfortunately, you're caught in an old, stale perception about where Pakistan is on this issue. And I believe it would be more constructive if we engage on these topics, because I am saying this is a genuine issue for me. I understand that this is a genuine issue for India. I'm not denying the legitimacy of this concern. I'm just suggesting the way that you're engaging in trying to resolve this concern is not necessarily the most productive.
You're saying have an open dialogue. You will express your concerns, we will express your concerns, because today you argued that you, in your speech, that you felt the pain of terror because you lost your mother to an assassination by a terrorist. You then went on to say we must stop conflating non-state actors with state actors. But for that, sir, the state must act, Mr. Bhutto Zardari, in a non-partisan fashion against all terror. Absolutely. You can't sponsor terror directed against India and then fight terror within Pakistan or across the Durand with Afghanistan. Do you agree that, one man's terrorist cannot be another man's freedom fighter?
And that's our position. That's what I want you to do. I want you to break this fiction that has been fed to you, that we have a different perspective on this issue. I believe that this line of argument, this wolf whistling, around the world terrorism, which is ultimately an Islamophobic wolf whistle, not only to whip up Hindu sentiment at home here in India, but also to browbeat Pakistan. That might be a good electioneering strategy for some, but it's certainly not an effective counter-terrorism strategy. What I'm trying to explain to you, that with better coordination, and I absolutely agree that not only us, but the international community needs to coordinate better vis-a-vis this topic, we can achieve far more than we have today. Pakistan has achieved in our fight against terrorism across the board. This doesn't serve our purpose, neither does it serve your purpose.
Why do groups like the Jaish and Lashkar continue to operate from terror camps within Pakistan? Show the world credible action. I mentioned Dawood Ibrahim, sir, because the fact is he lives in Clifton, which is where you live, and the fact is he's lived there since 1993 when the Mumbai blast took place. Act against him, hand him over to India, and maybe that will be the kind of gesture that breaks this frozen peace.
So, but the frozen peace is a result of the actions of the 5th August 2019, where India unilaterally violated not only international law, not only UN Security Council resolutions, but also bilateral agreements between India and Pakistan. If we are to have any engagement, if we are to have any dialogue, ultimately, presumably, that will lead to some sort of documentation, some sort of written agreement. And what trust can Pakistan have on India's commitment to bilateral agreements or even multilateral agreements? We've seen that they've treated, whether it is our bilateral arrangements or United Nations Security Council resolutions, is nothing less than a piece of paper.
You know, the fact is what happened on in August 2019 is an Indian internal issue. Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of this country.
You're an Oxford-educated individual.
Let's be very clear.
You know the position of international law.
You mentioned,
know United Nations Security Council resolutions.
So that's the third time you mentioned UN Security Council resolution. Those resolutions also call for Pakistani army to withdraw from POK, from Gilgit-Baltistan. Are you willing to do that?
I obviously, when I say abide by the UN Security Council resolutions, that means I too am ready to abide by the Security Council resolutions.
From what we call Pakistan-occupied Kashmir?
I too would be willing to abide by the United Nations Security Council resolutions. What I wonder is, what confuses me, is why the largest democracy in the world, a country where if the government, I'm not sure about the government, but the people value being a democracy. Why? Why on earth would they be scared of a plebiscite or a referendum or the people of Kashmir deciding their own fate?
Are you willing to, therefore, based on what you've just said, withdraw Pakistani army from POK, Gilgit-Baltistan, as per the UN resolution? Because that is also part of the UN resolutions, right at the very top.
I'm not denying, I'm unlike you. I'm not choosing to read only one line of the United Nations Security Council resolution, but see it in its entirety. I'm not suggesting unilateral action by Pakistan. Unilateral action is what you did on August 5th, 2019 in Kashmir. Unilateral action, violation of our bilateral agreements and international agreements.
You know, Mr. Bhutto, the fact is, and this brief conversation already so far has revealed the huge trust deficit that exists.
No, there's a fact deficit.
Just a minute, sir. Prime Minister
there's
Modi.
A fact deficit.
No, Prime Minister
Information
Modi.
deficit.
Right, Prime Minister Modi came to power in 2014. The first act was.
To where?
Came to power in India in 2014, the Prime Minister invited Nawaz Sharif to his swearing in. Mr. Sharif came. He was then in Pakistan, came impromptu, met Mr. Sharif in December 2015. What happens a few weeks later? Pathankot, a terror attack. How do you build trust when we've seen it happen with the Lahore bus yatra, was followed by Kargil? There is no trust because Pakistan has not done enough to ensure trust. ताली दो हाथ से बचती है.
Sir, ताली exactly दो हाथ से बचती है. तो अगर आप कह रहे हो, हुकूमत भारत का हुकूमत शार्म शेख में मानता है कि हम भारत बलोचिस्तान में इन्वॉल्व हैं, पाकिस्तान के खिलाफ के फोर्सेस को सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं बलोचिस्तान में, फिर उसके बाद
India didn't admit that at Sharm el Sheikh.
Again, another history lesson. That's a separate topic. And then उसके बाद उसके सपूत के तौर पे हम एक कुलभूषण यादव, एक इंडियन सिटीजन जो इंडिया का नेवी कमांडर है, वो पाकिस्तान में पकड़ा जाता है, तो क्या This is a state actor. Do you not see a difference between a state actor and a non-state actor?
No, I don't see the difference when the non-state actors are actively sponsored by the state actors.
Why would state actors sponsor non-state actors to cause the largest number of casualties in our own country?
Because they do it when it is directed against India. You act against terror when it involves your own citizens, but not when it involves Indians.
I think that is true for you, which is not true for us.
You know, your own belligerent comments in a way at times on Prime Minister Modi, Mr. Foreign Minister, have also not helped. It seems that when it comes to Mr. Modi specifically and India in general, Pakistan leaders want to cater to your own domestic gallery. You've made the kind of comments that make it almost difficult, if not impossible, to see how this trust deficit is bridged.
So first of all, I think if you assess the domestic politics of both countries, it is in India where Pakistan plays a larger role in your elections, whereas India does not actually feature in our elections. As far as politicking is concerned, we see it from the Pakistani perspective that every time there is an election in India, be it regional elections or national elections, there is a so-called terrorist attack that is exploited for electoral gains. We have no problem with any individual, and our words never intended to cause any effect. Those words were not my words.
They were your words?
No,
you
sir,
spoke them?
Yes, but who was I quoting? I was quoting the Indian citizens. Anyway, I don't want to rehash a conversation that has already happened or quote a BBC documentary. We can have issue with the choice of words that anybody uses, but everybody knows that neither politics is personal nor diplomacy is personal. The question before the people of India or the government of India is, do you want to create an environment that is conducive to talks? Do you want to implement your own stated foreign policy agenda, which is neighbors first? And if India's foreign policy's motto is neighbors first, then they have to do some sort of engagement with one of their neighbors.
India's foreign policy wants our neighbors to be good neighbors. They want our neighbors to be neighbors who will not promote violence, who will not target Indian citizens. That's all that they want. We want Pakistan to show and prove with credible evidence that they have stopped sponsoring terror activities, and we can then have a normal relationship, which we all want. At the moment, there's no trade, there's no, there are no transport links, visas are difficult to get. We want to have a better relationship, but you've got to make that effort. You've got to do more.
So
the world wants you to do more.
We're working for ourselves, not for you, to deal with this issue. And it is an issue of serious concern. If we're going to turn terrorism into a political point, whether it is for domestic politics or geopolitics, then we will not be able to resolve this issue. And frankly, at the moment, this issue has become far more complicated since the fall of Kabul. The manner in which various terrorist organizations that are a threat to me, that are a threat to you, that are a threat to many other countries, are able to coordinate and conduct themselves today was not the case a year ago. At the moment, the fallout of that is being borne by Afghanistan and Pakistan. As I said in my speech today, we may be the first to be affected, but we will most certainly won't be the last. And despite everybody's emotions, despite what may have happened in the past, what I'm suggesting is we must work together, Foreign Minister.
We'll see that in the general election, Mr. Foreign Minister, but I must ask you in conclusion, did you have a handshake with Dr. Jaishankar or not?
In all our unofficial engagements, we always shake hands when we meet.
So you shook hands?
Of course. And we had a dinner conversation amongst a whole host of other foreign ministers, as one does at these sorts of events. We didn't hold a bilateral engagement.
We'll wait and see where, therefore, that handshake goes in the future.
Issues and factors influencing the Karnataka elections.
Amul versus Nandini controversy. Hijab versus saffron debate. Corruption allegations. And the rebel factor are all crucial issues that could sway the voters. The Lingayat and Vokaliga communities have dominated state politics for decades, and their votes will be crucial. Stay tuned to indiatoday.in/interactive for our daily coverage of the Karnataka elections every Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. only on India Today TV. Don't miss out on the #1 election team. Reporting from Ground Zero. Grounded in journalism.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the more than 20 crore employees, government or otherwise, covered under the Employee Provident Fund scheme. An opportunity to significantly increase the pension you get after retirement. Higher the salary, higher the pension. Very unlike the current payout by the EPFO, which is too negligible to be